I'm a Sixers guy. I mean, I'm an all sports guy, but I'm a Sixers guy. I love following Embiid on Twitter, on Instagram, and he brings the humor. And Josh Liddick, hopefully he brings some humor with us now. We have him on the air joining us on 97.3 The Sports Bash. Josh, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm hanging out with your buddy Frank Close here in studio.
Hey, he's a good guy to be with, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, he's bringing the thunder today. I'm just riding his back. That's all I'm doing.
Hey, that's how you do it there.
I'm just going to be like Reddick. I'm going to hit some corner threes. We're going to feed it to Close. He'll kick it out when he has to reposition. You know, it's going to be a good show. But we're glad to have you on, Josh. So before you came on with us, we were talking young Philadelphia sports stars and how great of a time it is to be a Philadelphia sports fan. I mean, you're our Sixers insider. You know as well as anyone when it comes to young Philadelphia stars, and Joel Embiid, who's never shy on social media or on interviews, Ben Simmons, a young rising star. And then you look at the other teams, obviously Carson Wentz, obviously Hoskins now coming off that home run derby appearance. So give us your pitch for who your favorite Philadelphia young star is and why.
Yeah, I mean, what cannot be said that's already been said? I mean, there's so much good in terms of our Philadelphia athletes and our sports. And for the Sixers, I mean, you got a team that's chock full of young stars. You have the Ben Simmons, you have the Joel Embiid, you have Markelle Fultz, who is still pretty much an unknown, but from everything that we have been able to hear so far about Drew Hanlon working with him one-on-one, getting that shot back, getting that jumper back, it's really exciting. It's a really exciting time because, you know, you have a potential to have a big three with the Sixers. You have a potential to have big stars with the Phillies and big stars with the Eagles that are all young and hopefully will be here for years and years and years. And that we can have Philadelphia can have a dynasty sports town once again. And I think with the Sixers, there's so much young guys that are on this team with Zaire Smith, with Landry Shamet, the guys that they just brought in. They have a young core that if you add these veterans in, it only helps it. Really, to me, I think it just helps it even more.
So one thing we were just talking about, Josh, was that, you know, the Sixers kind of went star hunting and we say failed. Again, there's only one LeBron James, right? So the Sixers did not get the big superstar. How do you see that impacting the young potential superstars that are on this Sixers team?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's okay. I mean, the star hunting was what they needed to do, what they were trying to do to get the LeBron James, to get a Kawhi Leonard traded here. They were unable to do it. But I think at the end of the day, you got to look at the trades and the signings and the deals that they made. Instead of making those moves, they were still able to improve a team from this year, from last year. I think that we have you're going to have an improved Ben Simmons who's going to get even better than he was. He's Rookie of the Year, guys. He's Rookie of the Year.
Right.
So you got him. You got Joel Embiid, who's only going to get better. You got Markelle Fultz, who is hoping to have a normal season this year. And then they got guys like Mike Muscala. They got guys like that. I think that those guys added in role players in a pretty weak Eastern Conference. I think that the Sixers are in a good position, even if they didn't get those big stars.
Yeah, I agree with you, Josh. And listen, you brought up some interesting names that I want to get to with you. So the starting lineup for the Sixers is strong, solidified, and you can argue one of the best in the league, obviously behind that one team in Golden State. But you look at Simmons, Embiid, Reddick, Saric, and Covington. That seems to be the starting five that's coming back, which is great to have all five guys as a cohesive unit returning. But that second unit is what I want you to touch on, Josh, because that is completely up in the air, in my opinion. I think the Sixers did a nice job adding pieces in the offseason where they're one-year deals. They're setting themselves up for success next year to take another swing at quote-unquote star hunting. But you bring in Zaire Smith from the draft. You bring in Chandler from Denver. Fultz is coming back. You didn't bring him in, but he's essentially a new addition. Muscala is coming in now. So how does that second unit shape out in your mind this upcoming season?
Yeah, I mean, I like the second unit. I think that they made a lot of improvements. I think, you add in Wilson Chandler, who's going to be a really great addition off the bench. You add in, like you said, Markelle Fultz, who in all likelihood, just look at him. He's basically a free agent addition. I mean, that's a writer said that a couple of weeks ago, that he's pretty much a new guy.
Josh, how many 50-win teams add a number one draft pick to their rotation?
Not many,
right?
not many. So I'm excited about this second unit. You got guys like TJ McConnell who are back. Who, for McConnell, this is a big season for him, because if Markelle Fultz has a good year, a solid year, and he becomes, hopefully he's going to be the starting. He's going to be in the starting lineup at some point this season. Fultz is, but for McConnell, he's a solid player, great defensive guy, great hustle stats. But he's going to have to play like he wants to, get paid. I think McConnell's going to be a guy that might get, dealt at some point. That could be a thing. Obviously we don't really know, because, the Sixers have, the worst. They value McConnell a lot. But, they bring back Amir Johnson, who a lot of people don't really care for, but he was the hustle guy of the NBA last year. So, I mean, they have a lot of good pieces that I really think that, they're not going to be that worse off from, like, they lost Bellinelli, they lost Ilyasova, but I think the guys that they got to replace those guys are improvements.
Absolutely, I agree. And I say this all the time. I mean, yes, they lost Bellinelli, they lost Ersan Ilyasova, but as much as they helped the Sixers last year in the second half of that season and making that strong push to achieve over 50 wins, which no one saw coming, they also were a detriment at times, and they were exposed in that Boston Celtics series. And
they were.
That's why I say that the Sixers got better this offseason. No one wants to hear that, because LeBron James isn't having a press conference and Paul George isn't having a press conference, who was unexpected, but Kawhi Leonard is in Toronto now. But you get more athletic, and with Chandler, with Smith, and that's the big thing. And you talk about Ersan Ilyasova. Real quick, if you want to touch on Muscala, Mike Muscala, and what do you think he's going to bring for that quote-unquote Ersan replacement?
I think he provides more of a depth piece for this team in terms of a center guy. He's 6'11", is a big-bodied guy, and his stats have dramatically improved from year to year. He's been in the league for about I think 6 years now, 5 or 6 years with Atlanta. He's made his way as becoming a very low bench piece, like a bottom of the rotation kind of guy, and now he kind of turned himself into a pretty decent role player for them last year. He developed a 3-point shot a little bit. He was taking a little bit more 3-pointers last year. So that's, and with the Sixers, they like to space the floor. They like to have guys that they can pop it out to on the wing and get a 3-pointer going. Especially those big guys. Just look at the team. Most of those big men on the Sixers can shoot threes. So Muscala just brings a whole level of intensity to this team, a whole level of depth that they didn't really have before. He's an upgrade from Rashawn Holmes, in terms of what he can do on the floor. I think he's going to be a really big key. He can either play the 4, he can play the 5, but he's going to be a really big part of this team, especially, off the bench.
Really fast before we head to the break, Bryan Colangelo, it was announced this morning that he's not going to remain in his advisory role anymore with the Sixers. His contract's up. Just your thoughts on this as perhaps continued fallout of the Bryan Colangelo saga.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I'm happy for Sixers fans and for the Sixers to be finally, you don't have to worry about it anymore. You don't have to worry about everything going on with this with the Colangelo burner gate or whatever you want to call it. You don't have to worry about it anymore. The Colangelos are finally out of town. I think that this team, though, they are still looking for that general manager. I think we'll find that out hopefully before the season starts. But Brett Brown, people give Brett Brown such a big, they don't. I think they criticize him a little too much because a lot of the moves that he made were kind of out of his control. LeBron wasn't coming to Philly, all this stuff. So I think that with the Colangelos out of the picture, I think it's a brand new slate for this Sixers team. They get to bring somebody new in. They get their own guys in and really continue to build the product of the process and get this team where it needs to be, and that's further along in the playoffs, and I think they can do it this season.
All right, Josh Liddick, spending a few minutes with us here on the Sports Bash. Josh, thank you so much for coming on, man. We appreciate your time.
Absolutely, anytime.